Hi, this is author A.R. Shaw with Authors on the Air, Apocalypse Queen Radio, which is a copyrighted podcast for Global Radio Network. And with me today is Peng Shepherd, and she is a debut author of the Book of M. And I've been talking about this. I have notes everywhere. And Peng, how did you become an author? And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Really awesome.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
So how did I become an author? Is that the question?
Yes. Or what made you decide to write?
Yeah, I would say I don't really know if I really became so much as just I always was kind of doing it. Even when I was 5 or 6, I was trying to write stories, and they're about 5 sentences long, but and I just kept doing it in my spare time. I was just I don't think I even knew why I was doing it. I just liked doing it so much, and
yeah. No, I think that's a very common way. I know I always did the same thing. You just it's just a calling, sort of.
You don't really know why you're doing it, but it's
but you can't not do it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's kind of my impression of things. So how do you like it so far? Being a published author?
Oh, it's wonderful, but it's so different now than it was before. When you are writing your first book and you don't have an editor or an agent or readers even, it's just such a kind of private, magical, but also really terrifying thing because you have no idea if it's any good. And so now it's really nice to have it out there and have, be hearing what other people are thinking, because it's been with me for so long.
Right.
And, of course, readers kind of interpret it differently than you do. And that's been really fun and interesting to hear.
And how long did it take you to write the Book of M?
It feels like it went kind of fast. I wrote the first draft in 9 months, and then I set it aside for about a month to kind of, and then I went back and I revised really intensely for 6 months and then sent it out to agents.
Wow, good for you. Yeah. It's a very brave thing to do, to send your soul out, right? Yeah. I mean, and you have to do it over and over again. And most writers are pretty introverted people. This is not we can write it, but actually having to send it out and let others critique it and read it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's brave. It's a brave thing to do. It's a huge step.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of people who ask me questions, who are new authors and what to do. And it's just, I know it's gut wrenching, but you have to do it at some point.
You do.
We have a question she's a wonderful fan. It's just a comment, actually. Can you see the comments on the side?
I can't. I don't know where
Okay, that's okay.
Let me see.
This is Cheryl Elliott, and she says, just read the synopsis of the book. I will definitely read it. Thank you.
Oh, exciting. Thank you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, I read the book and absolutely loved it. It is a dystopian, but it's somewhat of a fantasy. And Jack's also just chimed in, and he's a great fan of mine. He says, hello, Annette and Peng. And he says, I guess I need to buy a new book. Of course.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I have to look at my notes really quick because there's so much to talk about. So after I read the whole thing, and I read a lot of dystopian, a lot of post-apocalyptic books, and I know that's weird, but it's my thing. I like. Yeah. But the things that stood out to me, and I actually wrote a review for it, and I don't know if this is just my thoughts, but I said if Stephen King's The Stand and Neil Gaiman's American Gods, if anyone's ever read that, and Greg Bear, have you ever read Greg Bear's Darwin's Radio?
Okay.
Have you ever heard of that one?
I have heard of it, yeah.
Yeah. If those three kind of, had a baby, then you end up with the story of them. I mean, there are three totally different pieces of art, really. You've got a journey with The Stand. With Neil Gaiman's, it's legends that come together. If you've seen the movies, and he is just amazing. And I'm getting feedback. I don't know if this helps or not.
If you take one out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll take one out again. See if that works. It happens every now and then. Now it's gone. Yeah. And then Greg Bear, his story was really about, it was kind of an evolution, human evolution, where it was a dystopian, but it changed human form in a way. Okay. So it's a really interesting and well-written book.
Yeah,
that's what it reminded me of. And I thought, I know that's a strange review, but it's wonderful. And I thought, that's the best way I can describe it, because I've never read anything quite like it. Oh, and it's wonderful. You're welcome. Okay, so it's about, it's really about the loss of memories and the disappearance of your shadow, which leads to, the loss of your shadow, which leads to the loss of your memories.
Yeah.
Do you know of any legends or stories besides Peter Pan that brought you to this story?
Yeah. I actually don't. And it's funny because when I was writing the first draft, I'm getting feedback now.
I didn't hear it. I don't hear it.
I can hear myself.
Yeah. Okay.
But when I was writing the first draft, it seems so obvious now, and my editor also kind of clued me in and said, Peter Pan also loses his shadow, but I totally didn't remember it at the time. I think you're just so in your own world,
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
That you don't notice the similarities, but that's actually clear a little bit now. The Peter Pan, I kind of
I read that part.
A little tip of the hat because
I guess you have to, because it is such a memorable scene. In our childhood, we've all seen Peter Pan, and I guess that would be the only thing I remember with any story or legend.
Yeah.
And then there was, after I saw this, I kind of Googled, the loss of a shadow, and there is a no shadow day in India.
Yes, zero shadow day. Yeah.
That is really cool. I've never heard of anything like that. Do you know more about that legend, or what it's caused by? It's actually a natural phenomena.
Yes, it is. That was actually what got me started, or like how I started writing the book, because I knew I wanted to do something with people's shadows disappearing and have it be kind of magical, but I couldn't figure out, I just didn't have a story, And so I just started Googling, stuff about shadows, like folklore and art and stories and stuff like that. And that's when I came across this natural phenomenon. Yeah. And it's just, it's so cool that I knew I just had to go with it. But it's basically it's a day every year in India. Actually, it happens everywhere between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. So anywhere in that band along our world, but it's the most famous and most celebrated in India. And it happens when the sun is so exactly overhead that basically your shadow disappears for just the minute that, because even though, the sun is so big and it seems like it's exactly over our heads too at noon every day, but it's actually not exactly overhead because we're too far north or south or, wherever you are. But in India on that day, the sun is so perfectly aligned with some of the cities in that country that if you are outside on that day, your shadow will disappear for a few seconds.
Oh, that's just amazing. And it's one of those funny things that you never think about your shadow. We're attached to that. And it's really cool. Nick Smith, who's Nicholas Sansbury Smith, is the author that I actually interviewed last week. And he just says, looks like a great book. I just bought the Kindle version. Congrats on the new release.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome to the insanity. And you're with a great group of people, really, authors. So, any networking, anything you need, just shoot us a message.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. Christopher C. Fenmore, I loved the Book of M. Oh, I don't know this person, but maybe you do. I don't know. That's really cool, though.
Yeah.
And then he also says, so much hope there will be a book 2. Is there a book 2 in the works on that one? Or can you not say?
No, I can actually. It's an interesting question because when I wrote the Book of M, I really thought it was a standalone. Mm-hmm. And then I think my editor and agent both thought it was a standalone. They didn't, ever ask me about a sequel. But I have had some readers finish it and just assume that there is a second book. I think because the ending, I think the ending is a little bit,
It is a brave ending. I will say that. It was an excellent ending.
It was a lot of fun. I thought of the ending very early, actually. I kind of knew the whole time where the book was heading. Yeah, I didn't know what happened in the middle, but the ending I got very early. And so it was really kind of fun to go towards that this whole time and like know where it was going to end up.
Do you plot things out, or are you an organic writer? A pantser or a plotter?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of I think I'm a pantser who wants to be a plotter.
That's me. I think it would be more efficient if I were a plotter, but it just doesn't work for me that way.
Yeah.
I struggle with it.
Yeah.
Chuck Terrell says, "Hi, ladies." He's an awesome fan, and Christopher Fenimore says that ending, and he's got yeah. So keep coming with the questions, you guys. Let's see. I've already asked that one. Okay, we talked about that. I'm sorry. Okay, and here's Henry. He's on my lap now. This is my rescue kitty. He's like, what are you doing now? Yeah.
So cute.
He's a sweet boy.
Except when he seems very chill.
He's very chill, usually. Don't take him outside. I learned. I'm so sorry I cannot pronounce this name, but he says thumbs up, and I will show it and then hide it again.
I did see that. I could see that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, for sometimes you can see them and sometimes you can't, and I'm not sure why that is.
I don't know.
It's a new program, and I'm learning it still.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Chuck says, Peng is new to me, but I will definitely give her a read. Oh. Thank you. Okay. Okay, I don't like to give spoilers, but I wrote some notes about the end of the book. Mm-hmm. Or no, let me back up here. So here's a few passages. The end of the first chapter of the book states blue. Yes. And then he said, as soon as her drowsy, dream-heavy eyes fluttered open and met his own, he waited breathless for her to speak. It was their test, their way of telling whether or not she knew who he was. 52, she whispered back. They met at a football game. Mm-hmm. And then the end of the book, it says, then at the very end, and I did my best to leave out spoilers. It reads, I told you everything you wanted to know when we'd met. But there was one thing I didn't say to you and will never say because I can't. It's not something that can be said, only something that can come as an answer. And you will never ask me the question. But even if I never say it, it's still real because a thing does not have to be said to be real. It just has to be remembered. Mm-hmm. That is a pretty amazing statement. I mean, that's great writing. That's absolutely wonderful. And I was really impressed by that. But yeah, that is just really cool. I thought the use of the tape recorder was kind of genius.
Oh, it was so fun to write.
Yeah, that was really cool. The recording device was the one, it's the only thing that would work in this scenario, because people forgot how to write. They forgot how to read. They forgot how to read a map. But a tape recorder, you just press a button, So, and I'm going to, it's an intriguing tip right there. I think people will, when you read it, you'll understand. And it's genius, really. And I always pick out the funny things, the things I think are subtly funny in novels, even in the worst of times.
Well, I'm glad that I think it's really important to have some humor in, especially this genre. So I'm glad that you found some funny things.
Yeah. Let me see if I'm wondering, I wrote all these notes like last week and did another interview. So I'm like, what did I say? Ori says, I need to make Max more presents. He thought, he said he could just keep giving her the same present over and over again and she'd love it every time. And then he tells himself, don't laugh at that, Ori. he scolded himself. That's terrible. You're a terrible person. But he did anyway. I mean, that is funny. He's out searching and hunting for anything to eat, food, scavenge, whatever. And this is, everyone's either crazy or lost their minds or gone. Yeah. And here he's thinking of, this funny thing in his mind is that he could keep giving her the same gift over and over and she wouldn't know it. I mean, that's pretty funny.
I think it's kind of true too, because I don't know about everyone else, but anytime I'm coming up on like a friend or a loved one's birthday or Christmas or some kind of holiday and I'm going to get them a present, I stress about it endlessly. Like I'm just so, it's got to be perfect and I never know what to get and I never know if they're going to like it. And so when I was writing that moment, it was so I kind of felt the truth in it, because if I could give someone the same present over and over because they would do that every time, I would totally do it.
That's terrible.
I know, it's so terrible, but it's so true and real.
Well, I do have to ask the question: Did you ever have anyone in your life who suffered with Alzheimer's or anything, similar to this?
In our family, we actually haven't. I think we've been very lucky in that regard. Yeah. But, I have friends and, other families that I'm very close to, and they've been touched by Alzheimer's and dementia. And so I've seen it from a little bit of a distance, and it is so intense and devastating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hi, Henry. Yeah, no, I totally agree. So it is one of those funny things. You look at it and think, I wondered if you had that experience, to meet someone and see a person struggle with that, because, you draw things from real life experiences, even if they're, you just do.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's another note. Some people like books in neat little packages, but that's not the way this is. That's not even reality. We're writing stories about life, and that's not life. I get nailed constantly for killing off this character in one of my first series, and she died in childbirth, and that happens, and it's terrible. But I get messages all the time. Why did you kill her off? This is the end of the world. Not everybody's going to live, but it's good because your fans are getting emotionally involved with your story. They care about these characters, and that is a good thing. Okay, so I found the concept of memories remaining in shadows interesting, in contrast to losing your memory, because memories are veiled like shadows. Mm-hmm. They both remain in the background. With memory loss, one also loses his or her sense of self, and yet that reflects your own image, your own shadow. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I really kind of got it, what you were actually doing there, I think.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah. It wasn't a decision that I made consciously. I didn't, it wasn't a one-to-one thing, but as I was writing, it just I think it happened kind of instinctually or something. Yeah. They just felt like, they're both very different. One is a physical thing on the ground next to you, and one is just a concept in your mind, but they both feel like really integral parts of a person. And if you were to lose one or the other, you wouldn't really be sure if you were yourself anymore. And so they were very thematically close, even though they're not kind of logically close, I guess.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we have anything here? Yes. Anthony Foltz, he says dying in childbirth is very common. It is.
Yeah.
And he says, I've seen it. It's very sad. I'm sorry that you've seen that.
Yeah.
What a tragic thing to happen.
Very hard. Yeah.
So what about, there was a couple of things. So like, what about the fated money? And let me just read my notes here really quick. It says, if someone didn't lose it, but they go, that makes no sense. Let's see. So someone didn't remember. Oh, okay. So I'm like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
So in the beginning, someone didn't remember that deer did not have wings on their heads, right? Mm-hmm. Something like that. And at first, when I first read that, I was like, where is this going? But it makes sense. So later on, you're in such a devastated world why would money make sense? Money would
Right.
not hold a value to anyone.
Yeah.
So why not have money fade away? So I thought that was, because no one would remember money in this situation.
Right. It would eventually just become so irrelevant.
It's just a bunch of paper or credit cards.
Yep.
Pieces of plastic, really.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. I also said that I loved that it took place in the United States, but that it's so multicultural. I mean, there's everyone from everywhere, and that's really fantastic. It wasn't centered on, mainstream, and that, did you travel a lot in your life? Because you must have, have you traveled?
I really enjoy it, and I try to do it as often as I can. So that might have, had some influence.
Yeah, definitely. You have to draw from different things.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's difficult to discuss the story without giving away spoilers again. So let's call these teasers, is what I said. But I wanted to mention Hemu. I may say the names wrong. So Hemu Joshi.
Hemu Joshi, yeah.
Joshi, okay. His situation. He was in Ground Zero in Pune, right? And he was the first candidate. But when we last see him, I thought that ending for his character, pretty genius, with the sandwich.
Thank you. Yeah.
That was like, after you don't realize what's happening, but later you do, and you're just like, wow. It was his choice.
Right. I felt like that was a really kind of true reaction that a person in that situation, he's the first person in the story to lose his shadow before it starts spreading. And so he's kind of the focus of, the world's hysteria and all of the scientists trying to figure out a cure for this. And so he's, he basically becomes like a prisoner effectively, even though he's not a prisoner. He becomes a prisoner to all of the media and then all of the doctors. And so I did not know that he was going to do that, actually, when I was writing. I didn't really know how it was going to end up. But when I kind of stumbled into that during the first draft, it felt really right and like something, like he was taking control back. Yeah.
He didn't want to. He didn't want to be the catalyst for all of this. He wasn't really. He doesn't know why this happened. But he took his control back. He did. Yeah, definitely. Let's see. My wonderful second cousin, Donna Broussard, gives me a thumbs up. She's awesome. Family jumps in occasionally. Yeah. Anthony Foltz, he says, I've often said that about money. It is just paper, no intrinsic value by itself. This is true. Yeah. Except that it does buy cat food,
Yes.
No, Henry appreciates money, I think. And then there was the one with a middle and no beginning. And I would say that he also had no end, really. About that. And lastly, the ending of the book was brave. And I know I've already said that, but I thought, wow, that was brave. Yeah, that was a great ending. And then again, we go back to the neat little packages and in stories. And it was a strong, poignant ending. And I love books that I read and then 3 days later, I'm still thinking about them. I'm still thinking, oh yeah, that's why, so yeah. So it's actually been over a month since I actually read it, and I was so impressed with the writing itself. That was the one thing that stuck out. You're a wonderful writer.
Oh, thank you.
So anything else you want to say or comments, or where can people find your stuff? Do you have a website set up yet?
I do have a website. It's just pungshepherd.com, my name.
I'm sorry, your name is, can you pronounce your first name again?
It's Pung. It rhymes with young.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I should have asked you that.
It's spelled with an E, so it makes sense.
So it's Pung. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a very cool name. Very memorable. Yeah.
So I'm there at pungshepherd.com, and I'm mostly on Twitter. I do have a Facebook and Instagram, but I'm mostly on Twitter. It's just my Pung Shepherd.
I got a couple of people coming in with questions now.
Okay.
Let's see. Cheryl Elliott, she asks, what was the last book that you read, Peg? Or Pung, sorry.
Oh, the last book I read. It's probably right behind me. Let me think without looking. I actually just finished. It's a series. It's ongoing right now, but I finished the second book in it. The third book is coming out, I think, early next year. And the series is called The Books of Babel, like the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, the second one is called The Arm of the Sphinx, I think. The first one is Senlin Ascends. And they're fantastic. They're so good. Yeah.
What is the author's name? Do you know?
Josiah Bancroft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, they're great. Yeah.
My wonderful friend Jason Beneke, he says, congratulations on your first book.
Thank you.
Wishing you amazing success with your writing career.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's there. I have wonderful author friends and fans.
Yeah,
and
you do.
welcome to the world here. Yeah. Okay. So if anyone has any additional questions, you can send them to me and I'll send them to her, or you can directly contact her, however you'd like to do that. Let's see, what else can we ask? Like, so what do you have in the works now, or you have something in the works?
I do, yeah. It's still very early days, but I'm working on the second novel, and I wish that I was a plotter again, but I'm kind of just pantsing it, and I have no idea where it's going.
Every time I try plotting something, I always feel like I'm going off the rails, and then it's just not meshing correctly. So then I pull all my sticky notes down, put them away, and go back to the way I do it.
I'm glad to hear, because I thought maybe it was something I would, develop as I got, more experience. But if there are other very experienced authors still pantsing it, that's kind of good to hear.
Yeah. If you go, it's funny. It's a common question. If you go to conventions, different places, they'll ask you, and most authors are pantsers. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then there's like a war between the two, like a war with no, my method is better. No, mine's, so it's pretty funny. It's all in good fun. Let's see. Anthony Foltz says, have a good night, y'all, from the beach here in Florida.
That sounds nice.
Good night, Anthony. No kidding. Okay, Jax wants to know the difference between plotter as opposed to something else. A plotter is someone, Stephen Conkley is... Okay,
Henry.
Something funny. Sorry. So Stephen Conkley is my wonderful author friend, and he's like probably the best known plotter I know of. I mean, he's got like whiteboards and there's sticky notes everywhere, and he explains chapter by chapter. He knows what's going on. I can't do that. I can't think that far ahead. Doesn't it? Like you sit down and okay, here we go. Right? I'm going to write this scene now. That's not the way it works for me. Now, whenever I sit at the computer, being a pantser, I let the universe tell me what's going to happen that day to the story, and that's how it develops. And sometimes if I, like you were explaining earlier, if there's a scene or something that you're like, I'm not sure that happened. Yeah. Should that really happen? And then I'll leave. I'll leave the writing, and then I'll go for a walk or do something else. And then usually it's right, so it's, so you're definitely similar writer. That's very cool.
I'm glad I'm in good company.
Well, you are in very good company. I think that's pretty much, doesn't mean that we don't go back and move chapters around or change things occasionally. Yeah, definitely. Well, welcome, and thank you so much for coming on. And
thank you for having me.
Everyone, please, this is definitely a worthy book to download, the Book of M, and I have still sticky notes all over it. So I very much appreciated being able to read it and interview. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyway, have a wonderful evening.
You too. Yeah.
Wait, I'm going to say something. Next week, is it next week or the week after? I have, not next weekend. Next week is 4th of July. No, it's not. The week after, never mind. Yes, next week is R.E. McDermott. He's coming on the show, I think. But all of these will be on my website, and you can go there and look at them or replay all the funny mistakes I make and visit and talk. Anyway, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Thanks.